So, Group IB just released this article about UNC2891, a threat actor that used physical access, in fact Raspberry Pis, in order to infiltrate a banking network and gaining access to ATMs. But a really cool detail that I found in this article is this, an unpublished anti-forensics tactic, which is Linux bind mount, that the threat actor used to hide its processes and being stealth and undetected from the Linux admins, because after the threat actor gained access to the servers inside this network, he hid his processes with this tactic. Now, if you are a red teamer or a pentester that want to learn more about Linux hacking and being stealth, this video is just for you. Let's start with firing up this terminal here and talk a bit about the Linux proc file system, which simply means that everything in Linux is files and also the processes are files. So by seeing the proc directory, we can see many numbers which are the process IDs that are directories that contain the information about the processes running on the system. Now, the way that we can use to read those processes and see them with more convenient way is the PS utility. Now we can see the process IDs along with the process names and the users that owns these processes. Now let's, for example, start the sleep for 2 minutes in a background process, and this is our PID, but of course we can also use PS to see that here. Let's take this, for example, and go to its directory. And here we can see the information about this process that we have here. For example, we can see what command we were giving, or in this case this is the sleep for 2 minutes. We can also read these environment variables attached to the process that we are running. And now let's think how we can use it like the threat actor that hide its processes with the mount command in Linux. So first, let's go to webshells.com and let's take a simple Linux or Python one-liner just to have our malicious process. And here let's start a listener on port 901. Let's go back to this. And yeah, we have the reverse shell with our Python one-liner. Here, let's take a look. And as you can see, this process is looking bad. If a Linux admin is connecting to this machine and simply runs PS, he can see this weird Python import socket subprocess that we are running, and also with a simple net command, we can see here this Python process with this PID, the process ID, that communicating to this foreign address. Now, if we want to hide it, let's start with being root. And here, we want to use the same technique that the threat actor used with the bind mount. So the first thing that we will do is to create a directory, an empty one, which is please subscribe. Of course, that, as I said, this is an empty directory. And now let's just see the manual of mount. We are looking on the bind option. Mount a subtree somewhere else, which is very non-descriptive, but in a minute we will see exactly what it can do. So let's use it with this, and we want to take the directory that we just created, and let's go to proc, and we want our PID, this one. first, in one moment, I want to show you another thing, is that if we'll try to just as root delete this process, operation not permitted, even as root. So we have to use this technique. And now we can see this malicious process. Our reverse shell is gone from the PS. Also in netstat, technically we can still see the netstat communication here, but it's without a process. It's much more harder to see that this is a Python script or any other program. But one way to find out about it is to use simply mount. And in mount we can see the dev SDA is mounted on proc and this PID. Another way is to use find MNT. And here we can see a little bit more descriptive thing is that this proc and process ID is attached to this empty directory, but we still can't see that this is a Python reverse shell. So chances are that if a Linux admin is logging into this machine, he will not notice. This program can run undetected, and this is a very evasive technique to use as a red teamer or as a pentester. And if you're running a Cobalt Strike or, for example, an M7 Venom or even a crypto miner, this technique almost guarantees stealth and evasion under Linux environments. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and please let me know if you have any other techniques that you recommend on when it comes to Linux stealth. See ya!